to go live. That'd be there. I mean, I've spelled click wrong in the comments. I've just noticed that. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room. And I'm going to start off with the thing that's probably going to get the controversy going. We're going to start off with the good topic and then move on to the bad. But I might be done with Darwin Nunez. I won't lie. I think I've got to the point where I might be done with Darwin, and we're going to discuss that in a bit. But we've got a few other things that we want to go through. If you haven't already, make sure to click like and subscribe. I'm just going to move all my stuff here because I'm very unorganized today and I don't know what's wrong with me. But I'm joined today by Race and West, and we're going to go into all the news of the day because there's been a couple of things that we need to discuss and a few things, some good news and some things that are going to get us touched. No Nunez slander will be tolerated. You all loved him after the Madrid game. I actually didn't. I said on Grizz's channel, I did not see what Nunez did after the Madrid game, to be honest. I didn't notice too much of an impact of him. LFC supporters have to have a fall guy. Costas, Robert, now Darwin again. I don't think Nunez is a fall guy. I just don't think he's provided enough this season. And I think if it's your most expensive player in the club's history and you're going into your third season and you still have question marks as to whether or not he's going to be good enough for the starting line, then you need to have a conversation about whether he's good enough for the team as a whole. That might just be me. But yeah, we'll go to Race first then, and we'll start off with the positive news before we get onto the Darwin talk, which clearly is a subject that's going to get people really ticked off. How are you doing, first of all?
Yeah, good, man. It's just, like I said, get all these games going on and no more international breaks and stuff, and so a lot of game heavy stuff we'll be talking about, which is good, because we've been playing well. Of course, yesterday was our first, I don't want to say negative result, but obviously dropping points in quite some time. So not everything's all just nice out there and sunny and all that. There's going to be some rough patches. Well, although I would say that a draw at Newcastle isn't the worst thing in the world, especially coming off the 2 big wins we had last week. So overall, things are feeling good, and of course, a big game this weekend.
Yeah, massive game, Derby Day. I think after the result yesterday, which again, I don't think can really be pinned on one person. I just think the whole squad, bar 1 or 2 players in particular, didn't play really well. We could probably touch on it a bit today because it was spoken about yesterday. But, square pegs, round holes, continues to work hard. You know what, actually, we'll end on the positive news. I suppose we'll sort of jump into the Darwin debate because let's not drive players out of town. I just want to clarify something before we go over to West and see how he is. I am absolutely not trying to drive Darwin Nunez out of town. If you go back through any stream that I've been on, if you go back on any channel I've appeared on, I have always said I love Darwin Nunez. I have said to him a million times, I love what he offers. I love his energy, his tenacity, his ability to win the ball back, score the ridiculously good goals that he does. But like we saw last season against Luton, like we saw against Everton last season when we lost 2-0, like we've seen this season over and over again, he can do he's got the work rate of anyone in the world. He's fantastic at scoring fantastic goals, but he needs to start scoring goals in the moments where it matters. He needs to start scoring the easy chances that will get you points, and you need essentially, for lack of a better term, a fox in the box like a Jota who will be able to finish those goals, not someone who can only score stupidly hard goals when all's going well and you're beating Bournemouth 2-0 at Anfield, or you've got a goal ahead against Aston Villa and you need that second one. Like, I just want to see a bit more from him. And I mean, Race, we'll go to you first. Like, Jamie, you said some are not your fault. Lou/Pound, love discussing. Thank you very much. I suppose we'll start off with the Newcastle game yesterday because that's the thing that's got everyone up in a frenzy at the moment as to whether or not we should keep him. But what did you make of Nunez just overall performance in that Newcastle game yesterday?
Yeah, it left a lot to be desired, I think. I just think back to the one, chance that Gakpo put the ball across goal, and Nunez just has to put a foot on that or put anything on that, and and that's a goal for him. And unfortunately, we've seen that type of move from him, in the past. And so, again, it's just a frustrating thing because part of this is because we know the talent he is, we know how good he can be, and we see him those moments. It's just frustrating to see them like, hey man, you know you can do this. Like, why can't you do this? Why can't you be more consistent? He's in his 3rd year. with us, of course it's a different manager, but his third year with Liverpool, you would expect to see that consistency become a thing, and he's getting up into his prime years of his career, and it just hasn't been there for him. And it's we are so reliant on Mo Salah, and of course it's great that he can do what he can do, but we need to start getting some goals from elsewhere. There's a worry that we're funneling too much through Mo Salah, which is not a bad option, but I think to rely upon that week in, week out, especially when games are going to be coming, twice a week and such, you have to have other options as well. So to Nunez not to step up, and with Jota being out for as long as he has, and needing someone in that striker position, when we see Jota come in, when we see Jota's firing and fit, we know he's going to get goals because that's what he does. He's a finisher. He's not necessarily the link-up play or the off-the-ball stuff that maybe Nunez does well, but the most important thing for a striker is scoring goals, and that's what Jota does well, and he's been doing that better than Nunez. Even though there was an improvement from Nunez last season, or from his first season to his second season, there was an improvement in his production. So we're like, okay, hey, this guy's starting to kick on and whatnot. And now this season, it just hasn't been that continued progression. And, you have to think that, this is a player that Klopp brought in, and now he's working on a new manager, Arne Slot. Is this a player that Slot is like, yeah, I'm going to keep working with this guy and keep getting him in? Or is he going to look at his other options and be like, hey, I have other guys that are going to do his position his role much better. I'm going to stick with them. It even showed last week when we went with Diaz in that at striker in that leading the line up top against Madrid. And so that I think that already showed that, like, hey, I'm not messing around with this. Like, we are in a position where we're trying to win the league here. We're trying to, we're in the Champions League. We're in all this stuff. We can't be messing around trying to get this guy into things. Yes, we'll play him if we have to, but realistically, I have better options. And I'm sure Slot is counting the days down where he can bring Jota back into the mix. And I think he's also pretty set on Gakpo, playing on that left-hand side as well with Diaz, kind of that rotation, because we see that that's Gakpo's best position out there. So his striker options, and maybe now Diaz, if he gave him a little run at that number, the number 9, and try and make him work there. So for Nunez, it's just one of those games yesterday where his mistakes are also very loud mistakes as well, right? Because he's up top, he's a striker, he should be getting goals and stuff. So his stuff is magnified, and also the price tag too. He's always you're always going to get that type of criticism and just kind of attention from a position like that. So by no means did I think he was like the scapegoat yesterday. That's the reason why we lost. Not there were a number of different things we could have done better. Of course, that being one of the things with Nunez, and unfortunately, it's a thing we keep seeing, here and there and all that. And so, I'm with you. I'm not, pushing him out the door. I'm not, saying, oh, he's a wasted thing. Like, I still think we still need to work with him, but we have to understand that this is his third year with us. This is under a new manager. If it's not going to work out this season, then what's the reason for trying to get it to work when we know we can go get another, striker possibly, of course we see Isak on the other side with Newcastle. He looks just, phenomenal. He had a phenomenal year last year and he's just great. He's just a finisher. It seems like every time he shoots on goal, it's hitting the target. It's getting close. It's all that. And so he looks much more lethal. I know his playmaking isn't necessarily there. He's really just a in and out striker. He's just going to get the ball and score goals. And look, maybe that's just what we need. You necessarily don't need the striker to do, all these other different things, which at some point it becomes a bit of an excuse for keeping Nunez. And you're like, hey, he does all this stuff off the ball. Sometimes I just want my striker to score a goal. Like that's going to be, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I just want him just to finish chances and all that. Like, this isn't like the Bobby Firmino of him, being the false 9 and all that stuff. Like, this is a different style of play. This is a different type of team. We need a strike. We need a striker to just, someone just take the ball and just put it back in.
Well, exactly. This is the thing that's really frustrating me is for years, or for 2 years now, we've give these different terms to Nunez, being like he's chaotic, he's energetic, he loves to tackle, he loves a challenge. When you think of all those things, which manager do you think a Klopp or do you think a Slot? Nunez is a Klopp-style player, pressing, non-stop running, energy. Slot is more calculated. Don't push unless you absolutely need to. Don't press unless you know you can win it. Don't shoot if it's pointless. Nunez does not fit slot system. And again, I'm not driving him out. I'm not trying to say he's awful by any means whatsoever, because I do think there's a great player in there. But I just don't think he particularly fits slot system. And before we come to you, Wes, like, I'm just going to share something really quick. Because this is the thing that I found really interesting this season with Darwin Nunez. Like, this is the... Let me just get rid of the brand really quick. This is the average player positions of the team from Newcastle. Now, you'll see Darwin Nunez there, the number 9. He's deeper than McAllister. He's level with Curtis Jones. He's far behind the likes of Salah and Gakpo. And he's meant to be the striker. And I do think that Arne Slot looks at this and wishes that he had someone like Bobby Firmino, someone who could come deep and actually do something with the ball, whereas Nunez picks it up from deep. And I never feel confident that he's going to be able to do anything with the ball. He's got a great pass on him. He often switches to play. He did that 3 times yesterday, I believe. Puts lots of long balls out to Salah. But then beyond that, he's not offering anything else. And West, I don't know about you, but like, I don't want Nunez to be this playmaker. I want him to just be the one. Obviously, I know Salah gets the majority of the goals, but I don't want Nunez to be trying to do all this extra stuff. I just want him to press and score goals. He doesn't have to be this playmaker, deep number 9, centre forward kind of role. But like, can you see a way where Nunez does fit into Slot's system with this deeper attacking role?
Personally, for me, Nunez. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Personally, for me, Nunez, as you both said, I want the striker to just score goals. I hear this, he does defensive work, that's great, but then please score the goals. Yesterday, I want to put the blame on him, scapegoat him, but then the chances fell onto you. You're the one supposed to claim and finish the chances. You're 100 million. Even though the price tag doesn't match the player, but then like, please score goals. That's the thing I look at Nunez. I don't think he will fit on the slot because, as you said, Nunez is a slot player, not a slot player. Because slot is more control the game, pass to score. Klopp's system was press, suffocate teams. And Nunes can suit that system. But under slot, it's a bit different. And I don't think Nunes has that touch of Jota or Firmino. You see? So with me, Nunes, like, I love all my players. I love Nunes, but then now I'm starting to lose a bit of patience if it comes in. Because Nunes can score a banger in the first game, and then we'll be like, oh, okay, he's turning a point. Then he goes Mr. Sitter the next game. And then another game will miss another sitter. So now it's the inconsistency. He scores the difficult goals. You remember the game against Brentford where he chipped the keeper from outside the box, I think.
That was last season, I believe.
Yes, last season.
Was it? I think it was Brentford or Sheffield. I can't quite remember who it was.
So now my point being, he chipped the keeper. That's a difficult chance. The Aston Villa game, when he went around, he scored. Then he had another chance to score over the bar. So now it's a bit consistency might cost us, but then like I really don't know with Nunes. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know. Like I feel numb.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm doing a thing for Nunez on my own channel, so I'm doing all my research on him at the moment. I think I know his Nan's name at this point, but he's by this same point last season, Nunez was on 4 goals as opposed to 2, and he was on 5 assists as opposed to the 1 he's got this season. Now, those 4 goals, 2 of them were against Newcastle in the same fixture last season, which were match-winning goals. 1 was against West Ham in a 3-1 win, and 1 was against Nottingham Forest, which was a last-minute winner. Now, that I can live with Nunez scoring a couple goals a season if he's going to score those type of goals, like a Divock Origi kind of thing. But you don't want a Divock Origi as your starting striker. And Nunez is our starting striker at the moment. And maybe it's because we've been spoiled. Maybe it's because we've seen Salah, Mane, Firmino, Fowler, Torres, Suarez, Owen, all these great strikers over the years. But as much as I love Nunez's ability to press and I love Nunez's ability to attack the player with the ball, there's just so many things that I wish, like Jim, you said, just simplify his game. I don't think he constantly needs to be pressing. I don't think he constantly needs to be running for the ball. I think he'd be great doing a Haaland type role where you leave him to it in the box. give him the chances. He's going to get 10 chances a game. He'll score one of them. And I think Slot wants someone who can offer that bit more to the team. And I think that's why 𝗖𝗧 is the preferred striker when he's fit, because he can come deep and receive the ball. He is better at progressing play than Nunez. Jamie is unsure anymore. I think, it's been a long time. Darwin does not score for Uruguay. I mean, he has been quite good for Uruguay this season, I believe. But I'm just going to, again, share the screen just before we come over to you, Race, because this is the things that were really stressing me out when I was looking at Nunez this season. Now, this is Darwin Nunez this season, just in the Premier League, 24-25. Now, last season, I think he was in the top 80% for a good number of metrics. He was actually quite high. This season, his shot creating actions, he's in the top 66 in the Premier League. He's only in the top 25% for non-penalty goals, obviously, because he only scored 2. But his pass completion rate is awful. His progressive passes for apparently striker who's been playing deep is awful. Progressive carries, successful take-ons. The only things he actually ranks high in are tackles. He's in the top 98% of Premier League strikers, and clearances is in the top 80% of Premier League strikers. But we got rid of Firmino. Well, we didn't get rid of Firmino. His contract ran down. We didn't sign someone to replace Firmino because it felt like the club was moving away from that style. And I don't know about you, but I would have rather kept Firmino if this is what we wanted, if this is the type of player that we wanted, someone who could press and come back and help defend and create play further forward. Now, Race, with this in mind, obviously we've got Everton this weekend, and I don't want to spend too long on the Darwin thing because it just feels like I'm sort of bashing him a bit, but there's discussions over who starts, and we'll get into that shortly, but does Nunez start against Everton, or would you be looking at changing it around up front? My only argument to it, just before I let you answer, is Nunez did play the full 90 minutes, and that's suggesting to me that I don't think he will play against Everton as a starter. But what do you think with this?
Yeah, I think just based on the performance this week against Newcastle, that you have to think about putting Diaz back up there in the number 9 position. And now I know it's Everton. You would expect them to maybe sit in somewhat of a low block. So you would think that having someone with a little more control, someone able to drop deep and such with Diaz. Not that Diaz is the number 9 or that's his preferred position, but I think he can do a shift there. And so I just think with Nunez, I hate to kind of go all in on the guy, but we're kind of that's just how it's been with him. He's just left a lot to be desired out there. In a game where you're gonna space is gonna be tight. You're gonna be looking to create some chances and whatnot. I totally agree with you with the Haaland thing. If he just needs to sit up there and just kind of be on the end of some chances and just try to be a finisher, like Haaland does nothing in the build-up play and stuff. So just be a tap-in merchant and try to just finish the best you can and all that. So I would certainly entertain that idea. I would think because Diaz obviously came off the bench in this game, so you'd expect them to be a little more fresh for this one. And so another thing with Nunez too that is also somewhat of a maybe not a concern, but just a note is that it is a derby game. It's a little more intense and all that. And Nunez has been known to lose his cool a few times. He's been better at that. I won't say that's a big issue for him, but we've seen him in the past definitely. Yeah. So not that that's the reason why I'm sitting him, but just a little side note there. But yeah, I mean, you just to open up a little bit, we're not gonna have McAllister at the weekend as well, with his suspension, and Konate, of course, is still out, and so there's gonna be some lineup changes and whatnot, and this is our 4th game in a 2-week span, and so it's gonna be we're gonna need Nunez at some point. He's not, he may not start this game, but he might start the next one, and I saw there was a comment as well of, we need to get rid of Nunez in January. Well, that's definitely not, because you need squad depth. Even if Nunez isn't performing, you don't just sell off players because they're underperforming. Like, you need depth in a title race. You need depth in all this. So to say that we need to get rid of him, in January is a crazy sentiment, because you need all the players you can get. He still has value to the team, right? He can still, like I said, he's still a good player. He can still have a good, shift here and there. We're just still trying to find out his role, and if there is a role for him, I don't know. The chart you showed with him just dropping deep and picking up the ball, I agree. Like, there's the one pass, I think it was for Salah's or for Curtis Jones's goal. The Salah had the assist for it, but Nunez's pass in the middle of the park was just dreadful. I don't know who was able to kind of clean it up, but someone did, able to play it forward to Salah, and then or maybe it was Salah's goal, I don't know. But if you can remember, but yeah, there was just it's just a little tough for him right now. I think he just needs to. It's a tough time for him because his future with the club is possibly in doubt here. So, if he's starting to lose time for, or giving up his position on the field for a natural winger, I think that's not a good thing. That's certainly a sign that he's not in the future plans, and there will be a move for him coming in the summer. So, this is a crucial time right now. These next couple months and whatnot, when there's going to be a lot of games and rotation and stuff. If he can't really perform well, I don't see how he's going to be at this club for a long time.
No, I agree. And like I said before, you're in your third season, and there should still not be question marks over whether your record signing is good enough for the club. I think that alone sort of sets the tempo for Nunez's time. And again, not to put too fine a point on it, but I think an issue that Nunez has is he was the wrong player at the wrong time. Not in terms of his ability, but I think that summer we signed Nunez in 2022. No one wanted an attacker. No one was looking at the window and thinking, oh, yeah, we need a striker. We need an attacking player. It was a number 6 or a centre-back. They were the two areas of the pitch where we were looking at and thinking, we need someone desperately. And instead, we spent 85 million on a striker. And I think that sort of put him 1 foot behind. He then isn't helped by the way the Community Shield match went. And obviously, Haaland just did what he did. And the comparisons were daft to begin with, let's be honest. But I just don't think that helped them. And West, like Lisey says, Nunez is 6'2", but he's so meaty in the air. Nunez is baby food for Branthwaite and Tarkowski, and that does need to be something we need to consider, because if we're going to try and out-muscle, like Ray said before, this physical game, the friendly derby, so to speak, I think Nunez is going to lose that battle. So maybe you do need to play our style of play and have someone who's going to get in behind, like a Diaz. So with that in mind, would you be starting Diaz up front, or would you be giving Nunez that other opportunity in this Everton game? Same question that I gave to Race.
There are two situations here. It's like, okay, Nunez, if we drop him, his confidence must go down, but we also need to win that game to open the gap. So I look at what, Nunez can play the Champions League game against Girona, but then I need to start Diaz in this game. That's what I remember the Bayern Leverkusen game, where Ancelotti said, man, the defense of Bayern Leverkusen with Tar and I don't know which one. They said that's a way to who's gonna run behind them. So I think we should play Diaz in the 9. I was questionable why didn't start Diaz yesterday. So now this game you need to start Diaz. Can I put Diaz Salah? Because Nunez, he can come in the second half just to when legs are tired. Cool, I'm cool with that. But then starting him in this game, in this type of game, the hostility, whatever's at stake, because I feel like if in this game we drop points, the title race might be looking a bit shaky for us right now, if I'm being honest.
Well, Didi Hamann has came out in the past hour and said that he believes that Darwin Nunez could be the best player in the world. He just needs better finishing. Yeah. And the sky's blue. Like what else is? What are we talking about here? Like, I love Didi Hamann, but good God Almighty, like, get some perspective. Also, Jamie just wants to what jersey have you got on at the minute, Wes?
Oh, this is a Bafana t-shirt from South Africa.
I saw the line over the top and thought it was our away kit from 2014, 2015. It looked like that. I like it. It's nice. Now, yeah, we're gonna sort of move on from the Nunez thing, because again, I don't want it to feel like I'm ripping him. He will at some point contribute to this season. I just think it needs to be sooner rather than later. But I absolutely don't. I do side a bit more with the side now of I'm getting stressed out, but I still think he does have something to contribute. Because we'll go on to the positive news, and that is, according to multiple reports, but most significantly, Fabricio Romano. Obviously, you can love him or hate him, say what you want about him. You know, he still is reliable for a lot of the big news. But this is over on the LFC Transfer Room Twitter. If you'll follow over there, give me 2 seconds while I get rid of the overlay. I keep doing that. So according to him, there is a contract update. Talks over a new deal for Ibrahima Konate at Liverpool keep proceeding as planned. The club are confident to get it sealed. Management and coaching staff are happy with Ibrahima Konate as they want him to be part of a long-term project. Now, I mean, first off, it's not the contract news I think a lot of us were expecting, but I'm still happy with it personally. And Race, I'll give you first crack at it. But I mean, it's only good news, surely, signing Konate onto this deal. What do you think of your first reaction to it?
Yeah, definitely. This is I think Konate. The only thing with Konate is he has had somewhat of an injury bug in his time here.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really long term, but he's had some few nagging things here and there. And now, of course, he has this current injury situation. Although it came kind of in a bullish way and a little bit of end of game, just like a fluke thing. I mean, that was that worried me when that happened, and now he's missing some time, especially in such a crucial moment. There's a little bit of worry, and he proved this season that him and Van Dijk under Slot have just been an absolute rock with us, and I don't think it's any coincidence that the first league game that he misses for us, we can see 3 goals, and Joe Gomez looked shaky out there yesterday. Of course, second
one, yeah, the City, yeah.
Yep, second one, and Kwan's out there at right back, and just like he's out of position there. But I don't think it's any coincidence of our defensive performance yesterday. So I think he has proven he is a top quality center back. He's starting for the French national team. I think was he captain for him as well this last window or something I saw.
Yes,
I don't know. Yeah. So you talk about an ultimate professional as well. That thing too. So to see him nailed on is be long-term with us. He's only 25 years old as well. So he's still got lots of years left in the tank, and him and he'll hopefully be here as Virgil, finishes out his career here, hopefully for a few more years as well, long-term and all that. And they can ride out. He can ride off in the sunset with Konate, next to him. And so, yeah, he's been tremendous this season. I think he's just incredible. He's such a physical, imposing figure and all that. He's just got all the traits you want from a center back. He's even been playing some long balls at times this season. He's added that to his game a little bit, and so he's kind of taken off of Van Dijk there with those diagonal passes. So yeah, I think he's incredible. If he continues his trajectory, I mean, he could be one of the best in the world. I mean, I really think he can be that, and so to see him nailed on is hopefully getting a contract extension with us, would be amazing. So hopefully he can get back soon as well, because we're going to need him, sooner rather than later. So I don't have enough good things to say about Konate. He's been a real rock this season. And, again, with those little nagging injuries, I mean, that's just the thing. You hope that, that isn't too much of an issue. But again, I have no issue with handing him a long-term contract and making him a real featured piece of our team moving forward.
Well, it's not like a sort of Thiago where he's getting injuries every season that keep him out for like 30 games a season. So since we signed him in 2021, I believe it was 2021, 2022. Yeah, 2021. Konate has missed 37 games with injury, and he's had 7 separate injuries. 2 of them were for 10 games across Liverpool and France. I'm not sure the exact number of just Liverpool games he's missed, but he's missed just under a season's worth of games in 3 and a bit years. So it's not good, but it's definitely not bad. And I feel like with Konate, sort of, when he comes back from injury, it doesn't take him long to get up to speed with everything. He just seems to gel right in. And I'd argue that he's actually been our best defender over Van Dijk even this season. I mean, he's been absolutely world class. And West, I mean, obviously, I mentioned Van Dijk then. One of the main priorities is, of course, signing Van Dijk on a contract. But does it actually make sense to get Konate tied down before Van Dijk? For the simple fact of, say, you don't, and you go, oh yeah, we'll get to him next year, but Van Dijk does end up leaving. Does Konate then look at it and think, oh, I don't want to be here anymore? So is it worth sort of signing him down, nailed onto that contract, and then moving on to Van Dijk, or would you still be prioritising Van Dijk over Konate.
No, here when we're talking, you have to talk long term. Of course, Van Dijk is 33, but I don't think he'll still play football until he's 40. So now I think signing Konate to avoid the situation that we had with Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent, I think giving Konate a contract now to just stay with our stuff. And maybe Van Dijk can get motivated. Okay, I'm going to be playing with Konate again since he's signing a new contract. Maybe it might even push him to sign a new contract too. So I think signing Konate's contract, it's a long-term situation. So I think it's a great idea of giving Konate a contract first. They want to see Van Dijk. It's not like Van Dijk said he wants to leave. He keeps saying in press he wants to stay, wants to stay. So I don't feel any pressure of giving Van Dijk a contract, but then I think they should sort around players around him, like the Konates. I heard that Jones is getting a new contract too. So I think they should sort around the players around them, and then they can focus on the big three. But then, yeah, I'm happy that he's signing a new contract.
Well, Lasady says getting Konate tied down before Virgil makes sense because Konate can't demand Van Dijk money. Now nothing to compare to. And yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. And look, I think Konate is... This is FSG we're talking about, this kind of ownership, and they prioritise youth. And I think if you went to anyone in the world and said, look, we've got a near 34-year-old, 33-year-old club captain centre-back who's just come back from an ACL injury, and you've got this other centre-back who's 25, French captain, quick, strong, the natural instinct is going to be to sign the younger player to the contract. But obviously we have the benefit of having watched them week in and week out, game in, game out. And this season they have made it it's hard to separate them. Now, everyone comment, like, who would you rather sign on a contract first? Would you rather sign Van Dijk or would you rather sign Konate? Because I am agreeing, I think, with this order of doing things. Now, it's not been confirmed, it's not been announced. But Race, I mean, I'll get the wages up in a second, but what's Konate worth in today's market? Because he's got to be up there. If you see these players for high wages, Konate's got to be towards the top. So I mean, what are we talking here wage wise? Do you think?
I'm not too familiar with wages necessarily. Maybe if you're gonna pull them up,
yeah.
I don't have much volume on the wages. I mean, I'm just thinking like transfer value, net worth, like that. I mean, he's you look at what we bought Van Dijk for. When he was coming through Southampton, was it the 75 million, whatnot? I mean, Konate, if he was on the open market, or if he was available for buying, I feel like he'd be worth a similar type, if not a little more, just with kind of the inflated market it is these days. Okay, so we got that table here. I mean,
so Van Dijk is second on £240,000.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with, Konate being, put him above that Robertson figure, maybe around that Trent figure, that 192,000, 200,000. Like I just said, he could be one of the best defenders in the world. Of course, the one thing with him is just his injury history and having these nagging little things. But when fit, and he's been more fit than not, he's proven to be a world-class center back. Like, I don't remember him really having any dips in form or performing better or anything like that. Now, a lot of that could come, or not a lot of it, but some of it could come down to, him being next to Van Dijk, one of the best, or is, the best center back in the world. So you take that into account, not to undersell, the greatness that Konate has shown, but I mean, look, every center back that's been next to Van Dijk has mostly, looked great. He does so much on his side of the pitch, and he helps out with defense as well. So you have to take that into account, I think, a little bit. But on his own, we've seen Konate just be a tremendous player himself. I mean, he's, like I said, on the ball, he's a very physical defender, aerial as well. He's excellent with that. So I think he'd be worth it because, in theory, when Van Dijk leaves and Konate's hopefully still around, I mean, Konate is then going to be that rock, in his position. And look, no one can match like just the intelligence, the positioning of Van Dijk, but Konate can come pretty close to that. Like, he can definitely be, I think he's just as good, with everything else he does. Van Dijk has just shown he is just a class above everyone else with just his intelligence of the game and whatnot. But Konate certainly has the qualities of being, like I said, a top class center back just in his own ways. So yeah, I'd certainly have no problem giving him the bag, as we say, paying him a lot of money and making him our feature, really being our main, number one clear cut center back. Hopefully with Van Dijk for a few more years, but if Van Dijk, if he isn't here for too much longer, Konate being that main guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. I think Konate has more than justified whatever wage he gives this season. I think that this he was never bad. He was always a top quality centre back, but this season it just feels like he's gone to a different level. And I think the thing that's impressed me the most about him, his anticipation of the ball's up there, and obviously I think he's got the best slide tackle in the Premier League, or he's definitely up there anyway. But I think his passing in general, like you touched on before perfectly, his long balls have improved. He feels calm under pressure, whereas I think over the past 2 years, it has felt very much like if people do press him, he does have that mistake in him to sort of give it away, or he can panic under the pressure. And I'm not seeing any of that this year. Like Gomez and Kwanzaa yesterday, God love them, you could see as soon as they started getting pressed, they were nervous. They didn't know what to do. And we didn't even see it that against City, whereas Konate feels so unpressable at points, I suppose is the right term, and he's been absolutely fantastic. Race, he looks amazing for France. Van Dijk has rubbed off on him. Marshall's backline excellently, very vocal as well. And then Jay Muse has put, I'm starting to wonder a little bit if Kwanzaa will be here long term. Young player shave ups and downs, but I wonder again if he's not a slot guy long term. Now, it's an interesting point. We'll come back to Konate in a bit, but West, I mean, that was Kwanzaa's first league start since the Ipswich game on the first day of the season, and obviously he got subbed off at half time. What is it about Kwanzaa that you think Slot's looking at him and thinking, maybe not for me? Like, I have ideas, but like, what do you think it is that's not getting him in this slot team at the moment?
The way uncomfortable on the ball, like the way he's nervous when they come pressing him. We saw yesterday, even the Newcastle fans were cheering when they were pressing him when he lost the ball. Like I think the way, like you see Konate earlier also said, he's so comfortable in the ball now. Van Dijk is way comfortable. So now Kwanzaa is not that. His slot system is pass, 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 let's go forward. So now Kwanzaa is not too comfortable. He gets too, I don't know, nervous. I can say that as a footballer. But then, like, yeah, Kwanzaa, yeah, I do love him, but then he's like for him and Konate, there's a drop off. We saw the drop off yesterday. We saw the actual drop off yesterday. But then yeah, I don't think he can link up play the passing game. So I think he's uncomfortable on the ball. Gets pressure too easily. Gordon had a field day yesterday with him. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Gordon's by the way, that piss off. I hated that celebration so much. Such a I don't know about you, I hate Anthony Gordon. I think he's just an absolute wind-up merchant, and it works clearly because it really pissed me off when he was doing all that. And
diving,
how is that, sorry, man?
The diving that he was doing yesterday, I feel like it was unnecessary. He should have been booked for it. How many times was he diving yesterday?
Honestly, that like, not to do victim blaming or anything, but I think the ref was absolute bollocks yesterday. I've never seen so many yellow cards given out to one team for doing exactly what the opposition's doing, but them only going, no, we're not getting into this. We're not. David Coote's come and gone. We're not doing it again. I think Kwanzaa lacks aggression in the tackle. It's something that can definitely be worked on, but he needs to take initiative. He can't defend wide areas well either. And you know what? I will admit, Race, that seeing Kwanzaa come on as right back against City, I thought, oh, maybe Slot's seen something here. I think it's more, I don't think it's that he trusts Kwanzaa to be good at right back. I just don't think he trusts him enough to be centre back. And I think he'd rather keep Joe Gomez as a centre back more than have Kwanzaa as a centre back. Like, do you think that's possibly part of it, or?
Yeah, I think that completely. I think you just look at, he had to put someone in the center back spot with Konate out, and he's like, well, like, my options are Kwanzaa and Gomez. And Kwanzaa, who I've played this season, has looked bad. I subbed him off halftime in the game earlier this season, and I don't fully trust him there. And my other option is Joe Gomez, who at least has experience and had a good season last year and has experience playing alongside Van Dijk at center back. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to go with Gomez there and stick Kwanzaa at right back. And I get why he does that, but I think you have to try Kwanzaa center back again, just because I don't trust him at right back, to be honest.
Yeah.
And, I trust him more at center back, even though he has looked bad this season. But I think it's a case of a young player just going through some struggles right now, and I think there is, I think all it takes is just one good game for him to have, and I think he'll be back and maybe looking a little better. And again, having Van Dijk next to him is such a calming presence and such a valuable thing to have for a young player. We saw it last year. He looked, pretty good, and and looked the part of being a really good center back for us. So, and I trust Gomez more, as a fullback role, because again, that's where he excelled last season. Is kind of that, just a hybrid right back, left back, wherever we need him to be. I just trust him more out there. And Kwanzaa, he just isn't a natural right back. Maybe he has the, I just don't trust him out there on that side of things. And so I think you just have to continue to work with him. Just try and get him comfortable with that spot. Of course, this Konate injury, it came at a time where we're so busy with stuff. There's not a lot of time to really maybe address things and try to, make things work around. We're in a quick run of games right now. So maybe that'll come here in the next week or so, where we'll see Kwanzaa, play more his natural position, and Gomez can go out there. Because I think Gomez too is better as a right back, and Kwanzaa is better as a center back. Like I don't think there's any question about that. It's just, I think that's just, you pointed out, I think perfectly. Like that's just how 𝗧𝗨𝗧 feels at this moment. So, and you run into yesterday's game where Newcastle, again, they've got, some good attacking play with Isak and Anthony Gordon and whatnot. And so, I think hopefully they'll be the right opponent for Kwanzaa to play. Like maybe this at the weekend, Kwanzaa will be a center back and Gomez or not. No, well, I guess Trent will start. So maybe he does go with Gomez at center back and Kwanzaa just doesn't start. But yeah, I want to see Kwanzaa back in his natural position again. For a youngster to kind of go out of position, I think that's a tough ask of him to do, especially in such a pinch. So we'll see. I'm very curious to see where Kwanzaa lines up next. Whenever he takes the pitch.
Yeah, and look, we're still in every competition, so of course he is still going to get games without a doubt. I don't know. And I think Kwanzaa isn't helped by the fact that he's spent his whole youth career learning the same way that Klopp wants his players to play. Like the youth teams play the same style as the senior teams, so that when they make the step up, they know what they're getting into. The tactics are the same. Gerrard said that himself when he was the youth player under Klopp. You teach the kids the same style so that when they do make that leap into the senior team, they know what they're in straight away and they can get going. Whereas, so Kwanzaa has literally spent his whole career up till this point learning one style of football, and then suddenly it's changed and it's completely different. It's the first time that's happened to him, really, I believe. I don't think he was in the youth system when Rodgers was manager. I don't think he was anyway. I might be wrong, but yeah, I think that's something. And I think another thing is, any other year, an away day draw at St. James's Park midweek in December would not be a bad result. I just think that because we've set the standard so high this season, it's viewed as a disaster. And, thankfully City are having an off season so far. Thankfully, we've got the lead we do to accommodate it. So it could definitely be worse. And yeah, it's not completely awful. Someone put a comment in saying Wataru Endo, doesn't he have experience at right back? I'm trying my best to find out right now. I do believe he has played right back before, but I'm not entirely sure when it was or anything, but I'm sure he has played once or twice in that position. But one of the comments, and I'll go to you, Wes, with this first, was saying, does Wataru Endo start against Everton? Because I think Gravenberch looked absolutely done in that Newcastle game, and Everton aren't going to press us as much as Newcastle did, you imagine, anyway. But yeah, West, like, would you be giving Endo that go as CDM?
I think I don't think Endo will start because Gravenberg has been superb this season. He just had one bad game. Yeah, so I think he's gonna go with Gravenberg and Jones double pivot and Soboslad number 10. So I don't think Endo can come in like yesterday. It needed an Endo at the end of the game just to stable everything down, stable the ship. That's what we needed to just stable the ship. Take out whoever could have taken out, bring in Endo, stable the ship. But then when Saturday's game, he has to start like Gravenberg because like that game is important now to us. It's been important anyways, but then yeah, I think he's gonna go for Gravenberg, Jones, and Soboslad. I think Endo will come in if like the game is a bit cagey 2-1, maybe we'll bring in Endo just to settle things down. Yeah.
I mean, is there not a world where against an Everton team who are very not physical, but they can be physical, I think, if they need to. Is it a world where Endo should start that one, West? I mean, surely that would be a benefit in this type of match when you need those players who are up for a fight.
Not really. For me, personally, not. I love Endo, but then not this game. No.
Okay, so I mean, Race, I'll give you the same question then. I mean, I say I mean a lot. I don't mean to. I'm sorry, but yeah, like I'm still trying to find if Endo's ever played right back before. I don't think he ever has, or at least I think it's been pitched once or twice, but nothing's really done it. So I'll put to you. I mean, Endo, Everton. Do we need to give him a chance because he said himself he's held positive talks with Slot about what he needs to do to learn his position, etc., etc. So yeah, and like Jamie says, Maka suspension does complicate the midfield even more. So would you be starting Endo and then bringing on maybe a Curtis Jones or a Gravenberch later on?
I just don't think that Endo is in really contention for a starting spot at the moment. I think it's very obvious that he just isn't a part of the plans for this team. His role really is just to come off the bench late in games and try to, settle things down or just, be more of a defensive option in midfield. I have a hard time believing that he would kind of be thrust into a starting role, or even though I know obviously we don't have McAllister, but just to throw him in there to, kind of a derby game, a contested game, even though, Everton are might sit with the low block, but, it's still a high pressure game for us. And so, I think the writing's kind of on the wall for him. I think really his role right now is he'll get the starting nod in maybe a lower league game, non-Everton game, necessarily, and maybe a cup game or something, and barring a drastic, like injury crisis or suspensions or anything like that. Like I just don't see. I wouldn't like to see him. I'm sticking with Jones and Gravenberch in midfield. Then you can throw Szoboszlai in there. I think it's as simple as that. You hopefully you can get one more game out of those guys. Just keep running them because I know we have another game then Tuesday. In the Champions League on the road. So maybe that's a game where you throw Endo in because if you think about it, just with our Champions League standing, like. Not to say that we're punting on the game or anything like that, but we are sitting well in the Champions League. So if we draw that game, throw out a weaker lineup for say in that game, like it's not the end of the world, So maybe that's the spot where Endo goes. That's what I'm kind of thinking at. You don't want to suffer two games in a row in the league where you're dropping points. I don't think we just dropped points. We just had a very shaky performance. So I don't think you bring in another player who has a potential to have a shaky performance to, put him in there, maybe lose points again, have a mistake or something. I think you just keep the status quo. You start the guys again that you have. You throw Szoboszlai in there, that number 10, as we mentioned before, Diaz, starting at the number 9, you taking Nunez out, Trent coming back in, either it's Gomez or Kwanzaa, probably Gomez at center back. So I think you try to keep things the same, and then you maybe look towards that Champions League game next week to really maybe get a little more rotation in. Again, not necessarily punting the game, but also keeping mindful of the games you have coming up. Of course, I see Harvey Elliott as well. He's been back. He hasn't had a single minute since he's returned. I wonder where he's going to be coming in because again, it's tough to find minutes when your team is playing, well. Like this is really our first game that we had some mistakes and whatnot. We're kind of questioning players in their their form and whatnot. So for Harvey to get in, it's kind of a tough moment for him right now. But but there'll definitely be a time for him to come back in. Maybe that is again that Champions League game next week, and you would think that he wouldn't play a full 90 as well. It'd be get subbed on often in the 60th or 70th minute because he's still working up to match fitness. Of course the Chiesa is coming back as well at some point. So all these things to consider. But for this game, I'm keeping a relatively tight lineup. I'm keeping things similar because I still have faith that these guys are still good and fresh and whatnot, for this final game. And then maybe next week you try to buy one more game if you can, right? You try to get one more good shift out of them because we got another hot game. And then again, that Champions League game next week, maybe there's a little bit of rotation coming.
Well, I mean, I've finally got my answer for the Endo defense question as well. So the last time Endo played in a defensive role, as in not a CDM, but like a centre-back, a right-back, or left-back, was the 14th of August, 2020. The last time Endo played as a right-back was the 1st of April, 2018 in the J-League. So I don't know about you. I am not prepared to start him at right back when he's not played the position for 6+ years, 6.5 years. That's not happening. So let's get that right out of the way. That is not happening. Tyler Morton's another good shout, to be fair. And Harvey Elliott, I completely forgot he was back from injury. So I suppose it's not all the end of the world. Morton could probably start. Endo RB experiment fair. It did fail. Thank you, Japan, for testing that theory, because after that game, he then was absent for the next 16 matches, not for injury, but he just wasn't involved in the team. Jamie says he plays deeper for the Japan national teams at time. I mean, yeah, but we ain't Japan. Unfortunately, we're bigger than Japan. That's a statement. But West, I mean, I suppose we'll go to you for the last thing then, because obviously Tyler Morton's been mentioned, but would this be a good game to really throw him in? He's not really played this season, and I think the Merseyside derby might be a bit of a push to throw him into. So would he be involved as a substitute, as a starter? Would he be involved at all, do you think?
I want to take risks in this game. I just want to win the game. As we said, let's go with the best 11 that we can take. And let's go. Morty is a good player, but then this is another type of games I'm willing to take a risk in. Maybe in the Champions League game, sure, you can throw him in, but then this game, I want mistakes. Because now we'll say again, the manager got it wrong. Because me personally, yesterday, the manager did get it wrong with Konate right back. So now, again, he goes and throws Morty in the fire there. I don't think he would do that. So I don't think Morty can play. Maybe we'll play if we're up 5-0. Maybe, hopefully, we're up 5-0. And then you can throw Morty in. But then just to start him, nah. It's too intense.
Oh, I'd love to be up 5-0.
And like my point on Kwanzaa, I feel like Kwanzaa could play centre back because I saw Everton's goals yesterday. They were all crosses, so I think he would do well in the air since he's there too.
I mean, like Jamie says, let's not forget how challenging the Merseyside derby is. Absolutely. But of the last, I think it's since 2010, Everton have only won 3 times. So we have got the history on our side, but it is always a challenge. I feel like draws tend to happen more in the Merseyside derby, more so than anything. And nothing to do with being bigger. I mean, in the sense of Endo is one of Japan's best players, I think. So he does sort of fill those deeper roles. Whereas for us, we've got better options and there's more to us sort of thing in that regard. Not that we're bigger, it's not in that way anyway. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. We are coming up to 8:30 now. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Race and West, for joining us. If you haven't already, make sure you click like and subscribe because we're going to get to 11,000 really, really soon. And tune in tomorrow for it's not the match tomorrow, it's the day after, but yeah, 7:30 p.m. UK time, stream tomorrow. Same time as this was, pretty much. Thank you, everyone, for getting involved, and we'll see you all in the